Hey everyone! There are many ways of increasing the difficulty and changing the melee combat experience in Skyrim. Today I'll go over the mods that I like to use to achieve this for melee combat. This will greatly overhaul melee combat, it'll make combat harder and more diverse. The first mod I use is Combat Evolved. Combat Evolved is a difficulty enhancer and changes some aspects of melee combat. Enemies in groups will now try and surround the player, and they'll use blocking and bashing way more often. Combat Evolved also changes the sneaking mechanics, so you're easier to spot now. All enemies, their magic is stronger on default, compared to the vanilla damage output. The player magic is left untouched. Being poisoned now does some serious damage too. If you don't like Combat Evolved, you can try the mod Wildcats, which does about the same thing, among a few other things, but in my experience is less compatible with other mods than Combat Evolved is. Combat Evolved is my preferred choice, and the other mods that I add here work well with it. I use this as a base for all the other combat mods. Next up is asis. Asis stands for automatic spells and increased spawns. What asis does is make it so that enemies have access to spells added by other mods and get access to vanilla spells the game doesn't allow NPCs to use. You will notice that NPCs now drink potions to recover their health, magic and stamina too. Enemies will now have access to perks depending on their levels in certain skills. Asis also tends to increase the spawn size for a lot of enemies. Bandit strongholds, for example, will now have a lot more bandits added to them. Asis should be installed after any mods that add new spells to the game, that Asis could implement on NPCs. One can further customize Asis' spawn rates in the MCM menu. Asis has to be loaded very last in your load order, even after your bashed batch. Next is Deadly Combat. Deadly Combat further improves the melee combat, making it faster, more responsive, harder and more active. Deadly Combat does a great many things. Firstly, it changes the effectiveness of armor. Just to give a comparison, in vanilla having Orc armor with level 100 in smithing and heavy armor will already give the maximum damage reduction of 80%. And with Deadly Combat installed you will only get 75% damage reduction with level 100 smithing and heavy armor wearing Daedric armor. So it massively decreases armor protectiveness. While armor protectiveness is lowered, the damage reduction while blocking has increased, and blocking comes with some other features that I get back to in a moment. Furthermore, Deadly Combat changes the speed on how fast you move. The difference between light and heavy armor slightly affects how fast you can run. And any movement whilst attacking has also been decreased in speed, especially for one-handed weapons. Even the perk Ranger for archers has been altered. With the vanilla perk Ranger, you can move at 100% of your movement speed with a bow fully drawn. The movement speed has been decreased to 75% with Deadly Combat. Deadly Combat, much like Combat Evolved, will increase damage of NPCs and the player even more. In the vanilla game, shield bashes and most weapons feel like their range reaches too far. You can hit the enemy or object without even standing directly next to it. Deadly Combat makes changes to the reach of your attacks and the NPCs, and you have to come up way closer and personal using melee combat. Stamina has also been overhauled with Deadly Combat. Blocking and power attacks now will cost more stamina, however to compensate for that, stamina regeneration when standing still has been increased. Deadly Combat does a bunch of other small things, a lot of these can be changed with the MCM menu. I'll quickly go over these. Deadly Combat introduces weapon staggering for both NPCs and the player. Normal attack versus NPC have a chance to stagger the NPC. The enemies can do this on the player too. How much you will stagger depends on what armor you wear and if you are blocking or not. When wearing heavy armor, the amount of stagger and shaking of the camera is much more reduced than not wearing heavy armor or wearing light armor. The stagger effect can be ignored by the use of a new spell or by the use of potions. You get the Ignore Pain spell when you install this mod. Potions can be bought from many alchemists in the game through a new dialogue option, rather than through the barter system, keeping compatibility with other mods in mind. Deadly Combat introduces timed blocking and timed warding. If you block about half a second before the actual impact of a weapon, your block will cost no stamina and knocks back the attacker. Furthermore, if the attacker is using a one-handed weapon to attack, the attack is completely ignored by a successful timed block. As one can see, timed blocking is very rewarding, especially against enemies with one-handed weapons. If you don't successfully time block, each attack you will block will cost more and more stamina. When you get too low on stamina and still try to block, you will get staggered. Timed blocking with the ward has a similar effect, however successfully timed warding a spell will reflect the spell back to the opponent. Enemy NPCs can benefit the same way from successfully timed blocking and warding. Finally, Deadly Combat comes with one more interesting feature, which is locational damage. You will get additional effects in combat when hitting a specific part of the body. It doesn't always trigger the effect, and your own character will ignore the effect completely when over 75% stamina. Enemy NPCs can always suffer from the effect even when over 75% stamina. The chance for the effect to happen or not is based on the attacker's level, the critical hit chance and the amount of stamina the attacker has. More stamina means more chance for the effect to trigger. Next we have dual wield parrying. This will allow you to block with your left hand. This is of course intended for people that use dual wielding, but it could even benefit people who use unarmed combat. The default key to block with your left hand is V, but can be adjusted in the MCM menu. It's just a small mod, but I think it really adds to the combat mechanics. Moving on, we take a look at combat behavior improved. This is another minor tweak to blocking. Normally you can only block after attack is finished. With combat behavior improved, you can actually cancel your attack and immediately block after. This will make combat even faster, but gives you more options in combat too. Of course, enemies will also use this. I advise to use the XPMSE version of this mod. You will want to use the optional fell too, called optional extra DW block hit animation. Using this optional fell, you can also cancel your alternate block when using dual wield parrying. Next I use Violence. Violence lets you fully customize your kill cams. You can choose at what percentage a decapitation triggers. You can choose how the kill cam itself plays out. I myself use the static smart kill cam. The kill moves will play out without changing the camera, without any additional static blur. For arrows and spells, I choose to always follow the projectile when a kill cam happens. I usually disable advanced kill moves, which will allow you to instantly kill an enemy. There are a great many customizations in Violence included, so I'm sure there will be something for anyone here. You could even disable the kill cams altogether if you don't want them to play. Next we have TK Dodge, or simply the Dodge mod. TK Dodge and Dodge mod allow you to dodge an incoming attack by rolling in a certain direction. You do this by double tapping a direction or pressing the Alt key and pressing a direction. I have somewhat of a love-hate relationship with this mod. I do like the idea, but it happened one too many times I accidentally dodged from a cliff, stairs or another something that made me plummet to my death. I stopped using this some time ago, but think many people will like this a lot and it seems to go well with this list. The animations I used here are from dual wield parry animation, Pseudo's combat animation, Bergzone immersive animations, XPMSE Skeleton and dual sheath Redux. Many of the sounds you hear come from audio overhaul and audio Compendum. Of course, many other mods like Skyrim, Realism or Requiem could complement these mods nicely too. But do keep in mind that the game will be a lot harder even without things like Requiem installed. Playing at adept difficulty will in no way be easy anymore. Not at the start of the game and not later on in the game. Skyrim will feel much more challenging throughout all levels. On screen you can see example load order if you would like to use any large overhauls like Requiem or Skyrealism. Of course your load order might differ, especially with large mod lists, but this should give you somewhat of an idea of load order with the mods I mentioned in this video. This has all mostly been focused on melee combat, and I'm sure it will make a similar video for magic and ranging in the future. It's slightly more technical than what you probably are used from my showcases, but I wanted to try something different. As always, endorsements for the mods you use is much appreciated. Thanks for watching everyone, have a nice day and I'll see you all next time.
I could just stand up.